How to Let Go and Let Life Flow. Alan Watts' Guide to Peace. What if I told you that the more you try to control your life, the more it slips through your fingers? What if, instead of grasping, striving, and struggling, the key to peace was found in letting go? This is the wisdom of Alan Watts, a philosopher who spent his life teaching us to stop fighting the current and instead flow with it. His advice might sound simple: let go, but it's also one of the hardest things for us to do. Why? Because everything we've been taught about life tells us the opposite. Think about it. From a young age, we're told to take control, to plan everything, to fight for what we want. We've been taught to see the world as a problem to solve, a mountain to climb, or a puzzle to figure out. And while there's value in ambition and effort, Watts challenges us to ask what happens when we try too hard. What happens when we cling too tightly to the illusion of control? Let's start with something simple yet profound. Life is unpredictable. No matter how carefully you plan, things rarely go exactly as you expect. You can build a roadmap for your life, but the universe doesn't follow your instructions. A job opportunity disappears, a relationship falls apart, or a sudden illness changes your trajectory overnight. These moments feel like chaos because they remind us of something we don't want to face. We're not in control. And this is where Watts steps in with a radical idea. He tells us that trying to control life is like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. The more you try to force the world to fit your expectations, the more frustrated and anxious you become. Watts invites us to imagine life as a river. You can't stop the current, and you can't predict where it will flow. But you can choose to float. You can choose to stop resisting and let the river carry you. But here's the question: how do you let go? How do you stop clinging to control when the world feels so chaotic, when uncertainty feels so terrifying? Watts would say the first step is recognizing that control itself is an illusion. You were never really in control to begin with. Most of the things you worry about, the actions of other people, the future, even your own emotions, are beyond your control. So why waste your energy trying to control them? Let me ask you this: how much of your stress comes from trying to control things you can't? Think about the last time you were anxious. Were you worrying about something that hadn't even happened yet? Were you trying to force a situation to unfold in a specific way? And did all that effort make you feel better or worse? Watts teaches us that peace comes not from controlling life, but from trusting it. Trusting that the river of life knows where it's going, even if you don't. Trusting that you don't have to fight every current, solve every problem, or figure out every answer. Because here's the secret: life doesn't need you to control it. Life just needs you to show up and experience it.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
The freedom of surrender. Why letting go is the key to happiness. What if the freedom you've been searching for isn't found in achieving more, controlling everything, or solving every problem, but in surrendering? Not in giving up, but in releasing the grip you have on life. Alan Watts believed that true peace comes when we stop resisting the natural flow of existence. He called it the art of letting go, and it's not just philosophical, it's deeply practical. Let's start with what surrender really means. To surrender doesn't mean to give up on life or stop trying. It doesn't mean becoming passive or apathetic. Surrender is about releasing the illusion that you can control everything. It's about recognizing the limits of your power and learning to trust the process of life. And here's the paradox: the more you let go, the freer and more powerful you actually become. Think about it. How much of your stress and unhappiness comes from clinging to things that you can't control? Maybe it's a relationship you're trying to fix, a future outcome you're obsessing over, or a version of yourself you're desperately trying to become. The harder you hold on, the more it hurts. It's like holding onto a rope that's pulling away from you. The tighter your grip, the more it burns your hands. Watts would say that surrendering is like loosening your grip on that rope. It's not about falling into chaos, it's about freeing yourself from unnecessary struggle. He often used the metaphor of swimming to explain this idea. Imagine you're in the ocean, caught in a strong current. If you panic and thrash around, you'll exhaust yourself and sink. But if you relax, if you trust the water to carry you, you'll float. Let me ask you, what are you holding on to right now that's making you sink? It could be a fear, an expectation, or even a belief about how life is supposed to be. Whatever it is, ask yourself what would happen if you let it go. Would the world fall apart, or would you finally feel lighter? Here's the truth: Watts wants us to see life is not a problem to solve. It's not a battle to win or a project to complete. Life is an experience to be lived. The more we try to control it, the more we miss out on its beauty. Have you ever noticed how the best moments in life often happen when you're not trying so hard? That effortless laughter with a friend, the unexpected adventure, the quiet peace of a sunset, these moments flow to you when you stop forcing and start allowing. But here's the challenge: letting go requires trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the universe, and trust that things will unfold as they're meant to. And trust is hard, isn't it? Especially when life feels uncertain or chaotic. Watts acknowledged this. He knew that humans are wired to seek control because control feels safe. But he also knew that safety is often an illusion. Watts taught us that the key to happiness is to embrace uncertainty, to stop fearing the unknown and start seeing it as an adventure. After all, what's more exciting, a story where you know every twist and turn in advance, or one where the ending is a mystery? Life works the same way. Letting go doesn't mean losing control, it means gaining freedom. But here's the deeper truth: surrender isn't something you do once. It's a daily practice. Every day, life will hand you new uncertainties, new challenges, and new opportunities to let go. The question is, will you resist or will you flow? So, let me ask you, what would your life look like if you trusted it more? If you stopped clinging to control and started embracing the flow? The answer isn't something I or anyone else can give you. It's something you'll discover for yourself when you stop holding on so tightly. The illusion of control, why fighting the current only pulls you under. Let's confront one of the biggest illusions we live with: the belief that we're in control. We plan, we strategize, we micromanage every part of our lives, convinced that if we just try hard enough, we can shape the world to our will. But here's the truth: Alan Watts wants us to understand control is a mirage. And the harder you chase it, the further it slips away. Think about the last time you tried to control something that was out of your hands. Maybe it was a relationship where you tried to make someone act or feel the way you wanted them to. Or maybe it was your career, where you obsessed over outcomes that were influenced by factors far beyond your reach. How did that feel? Exhausting? Frustrating? Like trying to hold on to sand as it slipped through your fingers? Watts would tell us that this struggle is the root of much of our suffering. We fight the current of life, believing that if we just paddle harder, we can force the river to flow in a different direction. But life doesn't work that way. The river flows where it will, and our attempts to control it only leave us tired, anxious, and defeated. Let me ask you, how much of your energy is spent fighting the current? How many of your worries are tied to things you can't change? The weather? The opinions of others? The past? The future? Watts teaches us that peace doesn't come from controlling these things, it comes from letting go of the need to control them. Here's a powerful metaphor Watts often used: imagine life as a dance. When you're dancing, you're not trying to get anywhere. You're not fighting against the music. You're moving with it, flowing in harmony with the rhythm. The moment you try to force the dance, it loses its grace. Life works the same way. It's not about reaching a destination or conquering the music, it's about flowing with it, moment by moment. But here's the catch: letting go of control doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean you stop making choices or taking action. Watts would never suggest that you drift through life passively. Instead, he taught that true action comes from a place of clarity and trust, not fear and resistance. When you stop fighting the current, you free up the energy to swim with it, to move with purpose instead of panic. Here's an example: imagine you're stuck in traffic. You can't control the cars in front of you or the red lights ahead, but you can control how you respond. You can choose to stress, honk, and fume, or you can accept the situation and use the time to listen to music, reflect, or just breathe. The traffic doesn't change, but your experience of it does. This is the essence of letting go, recognizing what's within your control and what isn't. Watts often said, muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. But when we stop stirring the water of our lives, stop trying to control every ripple, we allow it to settle. And in that stillness, clarity emerges. But why is it so hard to let go? Why do we cling so tightly to the illusion of control, even when it causes us pain? It's because control gives us a false sense of security. It makes us feel like we're steering the ship, even when the ocean is far too vast to tame. Letting go feels like surrendering to chaos. But here's the twist: the chaos isn't real. Life has its own rhythm, its own flow, and when we align ourselves with it, we discover that what felt like chaos was actually harmony all along. So, let me ask you, what are you trying to control right now? And what would happen if you stopped? Would the world fall apart, or would you finally find peace? Watts reminds us that life is a paradox. The more you try to control it, the more out of control it feels. But when you let go, when you trust the flow, you find a freedom that no amount of control could ever give you. Trusting the flow, how letting go leads to true peace and freedom. Here's the ultimate paradox of life: the more you trust it, the more it works in your favor. Alan Watts often taught that letting go isn't about giving up, it's about giving in. It's about aligning yourself with the flow of life instead of constantly resisting it. And when you do, something remarkable happens. The tension, the anxiety, the fear, they start to dissolve. In their place, you find a profound sense of peace, a freedom that comes not from controlling life, but from living it fully. But let's get practical. What does it actually mean to trust the flow? It means embracing uncertainty. It means accepting that life is unpredictable, that not everything will go the way you planned, and that this is okay. It means recognizing that, just like a river, life has its own direction, and sometimes the best thing you can do is let it carry you. Think about the moments in your life when things didn't go according to plan. Maybe you lost a job, missed an opportunity, or faced an unexpected setback. At the time, it probably felt like a failure, like life had betrayed you. But looking back, how often did those moments lead to something better? A new job, a new relationship, a new perspective. Watts would tell us that these weren't coincidences, they were life's way of guiding you toward where you were meant to be. Let me ask you, how much of your stress comes from trying to predict or control the future? We spend so much time worrying about what might happen, trying to plan for every possible outcome. But the truth is, The future is unknowable. And the more you try to control it, the more you rob yourself of the present moment, the only moment that's truly yours. Watts believed that peace comes from living fully in the now. He asked us to imagine life as a piece of music. When you listen to music, you don't skip to the end to hear the final note. You experience it as it unfolds, moment by moment, note by note. Life is the same. It's not about rushing to the end or figuring out the point. It's about being here, now, immersed in the rhythm of existence. But trusting the flow doesn't mean life will always be easy. But the river isn't always calm. There will be rapids, storms, and moments when you feel like you're being pulled under. Watts acknowledged this. He knew that life is full of pain and uncertainty, but he also knew that fighting the current only makes it worse. When you let go, when you trust the flow, you discover that even the rough waters have their own kind of beauty. Here's an example. Imagine you're surfing. If you fight the wave, if you try to resist its power, you'll wipe out. But if you learn to move with the wave, to trust its rhythm, you can ride it effortlessly. Life works the same way. The wave is bigger than you, it always will be. But when you stop resisting it, you discover that it's not your enemy, it's your partner. Let me ask you again, what would your life look like if you trusted it more? If you stopped fighting the current and started flowing with it, maybe you'd stop clinging to relationships that no longer serve you. Maybe you'd stop obsessing over things you can't control. Maybe, just maybe, you'd finally breathe. Watts often said, you don't look out there for God, something in the sky you look in. You trusting the flow isn't about finding peace somewhere outside yourself. It's about realizing that peace is already within you. It's been there all along. The only thing standing in the way is your resistance. So here's the challenge: let go. Let go of the need to control, the need to predict, the need to force outcomes. Trust that life knows what it's doing, even when you don't. And when you do, you'll find that the very thing you've been searching for, peace, freedom, happiness, has been waiting for you all along. Because here's the truth Alan Watts wants us to understand: life isn't something you conquer. It's something you experience. And the more you let go, the more fully you can live.